when they print their paper, it's called hard currency. So you can have a US dollar anywhere in the world. You could go Indonesia, you could go Bandung, you could buy what you want with US dollars. So it's very advantageous for them to print paper and buy all the oil in Saudi Arabia. It doesn't cost anything except the paper and the ink. But when we print paper, we the donkeys, because we are donkeys, we have a load of books on our backs. كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَصْفَارًا, says Allah. Donkeys with a load of books on our backs. We print the paper. And we go to Manhattan, Midtown, Lower Manhattan where you have Wall Street. And we take a whole suitcase filled with Bangladeshi taka. Can't even buy a cup of coffee. That's why we are donkeys. If you can't understand that this is bogus and fraudulent and haram, you should buy a one-way ticket and go to the moon. But Bank Negara will never say that it's bogus and haram. And the muftis will never say it's bogus and haram. But Dr. Mahathir explained something to us recently. And remember, Dr. Mahathir is not an alim. He's a politician. He's a secular politician. He's a nationalist. He's not an ustaz. No, he's not an alim. And he pointed out they don't need to print paper anymore. He says all that the Federal Reserve has to do now, and only the Federal Reserve can do it, no other central bank can do it, is write a check for $7 trillion. $7 trillion. And just send the check to the banking system. And that enters into the books of the banks. And when the bank lends the money to you, Egypt, IMF loan, and you sign the agreement for the loan, now it becomes money. Now it becomes money. So they are creating money out of thin air, but a much faster rate than they did it with printing paper. Because imagine, says Dr. Mahathir, how many security vehicles you will need to take $7 trillion. How many printing press will have to print for how many months to print $7 trillion? Now it's easy, you just write a check. And then when the bank lends the money, it's not going to be lending $7 trillion, you know. It's something called, what's it called?
Fractionalized banking.
Fractional reserve banking? That term came straight out of Jahannam. Fractional reserve. We might have a banker here who would agree with me. Meaning, you take the money which is created out of thin air and you multiply it several times. If I have 100 ringgits, I'm a bank, I can lend 1,000 or more. Called fractional reserve banking. So this is bogus upon bogus, fraudulent upon fraudulent, haram upon haram. If you want to enforce the Shariah in Egypt, Ikhwan al-Muslimun, what's going to happen to the Egyptian pound? Did you even ask the question before you went to your referendum? The Egyptian pound is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's haram. And it has functioned as a vehicle for the economic exploitation and financial enslavement of Egypt. There are so many considerations to study if you want to enforce the Sharia in the modern age. We have a little time left for me to turn to another aspect of the subject. Namely, Do we have the scholarship today, the Islamic scholarship, to enforce the Sharia in such a way that it will display its absolute superiority over every rival system of law? Or are we going to enforce the Sharia today and the world will look at us and make us a laughing stock of mankind? Tomorrow, when there's Sharia in Egypt, what happens when the Israeli Mossad pays an Egyptian family to bring a little girl 6 years of age, she's a child, 6 years of age, to the Sharia court for permission for nikah with a man who is 55? Sharia court will have to decide, is it halal, is it jaiz for a nikah to be conducted with a child, a girl who is 6 years of age? Sahih Bukhari says, Sahih Bukhari, that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said that Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam married me when I was 6. Let's leave the consummation part. We are concerned with marriage, nikah. If this is true, then it becomes sunnah. If this is true, it becomes sunnah. How many of you here in this masjid will be willing to follow the sunnah? Why are you so scared? If it is the sunnah, you should be proud to marry a 6-year-old child. Is this all the reason we have? Is this what Allah gave to us? Just 5 ringgits worth of intelligence? Which one of you will marry a 6-year-old child? Which one? But no, you accept the hadith because it's Sahih Bukhari. Do we have the Islamic scholarship today to be able to study and see whether this hadith is in conformity and harmony with the Quran or in conflict with the Quran? And do we have the courage and the integrity today in Islamic scholarship, when we recognize a hadith to be in conflict with the Quran, to say the Quran must prevail, not the hadith? Well, I am saying to you, this hadith is in conflict with the Quran. Oh yes. And if you want to marry a girl who is 6 years of age, then CNN will capture it and Al Jazeera, and it will be broadcast on every television station in the world, again and again and again and again. And we Muslims become the laughing stock of the world. When I said this to Dr. Mahathir, he said to me, we are already the laughing stock of the world. That's the answer he gave to me. I said, Dr. Mahathir, can I quote you on that? He said, yes, you can quote me. That's not all. What will we do when the Israeli Mossad pays 2 people who are married, not to each other, to come before the Sharia court in Egypt and to confess to zina? The court will have to decide what is the Sharia punishment. And in the hadith, it is stated, Sahih Bukhari, that the punishment for zina, if you are married, is rajam, stoning to death. Okay? So the court will have, if it follows that hadith in Sahih Bukhari, the court will have to pronounce Rajam. This is going to come to Egypt tomorrow. Don't be surprised when it happens. The Mossad is probably waiting for it. And then when you stone these two people to death, you will be sure to have CNN there and Al Jazeera there. And they will record it and they'll play it over and over and over again in every single television station in the world. We will not then be the laughing stock of mankind. We'll be worse than that. Mankind will despise us. Israel will win a propaganda victory against Islam unlike anything they've ever won before. Is this hadith in conflict with the Quran, or is it in harmony with the Quran? Do we have the caliber of Islamic scholarship today to be able to recognize a fabricated hadith because it is in conflict with the Quran? This subject is called Naskh. We don't have the time to deal with it tonight, but I do have a lecture on my website and on YouTube entitled The Punishment for Adultery in the Religion of Abraham alayhi salam, in which I have argued the case that that hadith is fabricated. And the punishment for adultery, whether you are married or unmarried, in the Shariah which came to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, is a public flogging. And so we ask the question, when we enforce the Shariah today, do we have that caliber of Islamic scholarship with which to be able to apply the Shariah in such a way that we will demonstrate its superiority over every rival system of law in the world? If you do not have an Islamic scholarship that can even recognize paper money as bogus and fraudulent and haram, how will you deal with fabricated hadith? We have something called Islamic banking, which is supposed to be the alternative to riba. And we are so proud, mashallah, we have Islamic banking. But Islamic banking is using the same paper money. No Islamic bank in the world dares, none. They don't dare to open their mouth to say anything about paper money. They don't dare to do it. That's your Islamic banking. They will not lift even a little finger. Your former Prime Minister of this country recognizes the bogus monetary system, but not your banking system, not your central bank. He has a better understanding than even Kelantan today. And this is not an Islamic scholar. No, a politician. Is it not embarrassing? Because I have studied monetary economics. I know the subject. And I recognize that he has a superior understanding than all the ulama. I consider that embarrassing.